Hey YouTube, my name is JP Graves. I'm the author of Crimes of an Empire and In Darkest Dreams. Today, I wanted to talk about something a lot of writers seem to struggle with, and that's character creation. More specifically, how I create characters that feel real, immersive, and fit seamlessly into the worlds I build. If you've ever read a book and thought, something about this character feels off, then this video's for you. First, I want to say, I am not a traditionally trained author. I didn't go to college for an English degree. I was never taught how to make my work appeal to a broad audience. I've never been graded on my work in an academic setting, and before publishing my first book, I'd never let anybody read anything I wrote. Everything I know I picked up along my journey. That journey started a few years ago. I had an idea for a dark sci-fi setting, a universe where an empire is on a never-ending conquest for no other reason than the expansion of humanity. Throughout the years, I kept thinking about it over and over, and I even tried to make a small video game, but quickly realized I'm terrible at coding. One night, I was sitting down in front of my computer, and I just started writing my idea down. And I really enjoyed it. The world felt real. I quickly started developing characters to fit in it. By chapter 5, I stopped and thought, I need to make sure I'm doing this right. So I did what most people do. I went onto YouTube. I watched countless YouTube videos on character creation, I found free college lectures, and even bought a few books on the subject. And after all that research, I felt more lost than before. The problem wasn't that the advice was bad, it was that every single person was saying the same thing. It was like they were all reading from the same script, and none of it really clicked with me. The characters I was creating for Crimes of an Empire didn't fit the mold that they were describing, but they did fit my setting. Your characters should not dictate your setting. Your setting should dictate your characters. In my first book, my two main characters are Tammy and a man referred to as 5056. I was told by multiple people that my main character needed a real name. They said readers wouldn't relate to him without one, that his backstory was too dark and too detached for the average person to connect with. But I ignored that advice. Because 5056 wasn't supposed to be relatable. It was supposed to fit in the world. 5056 is a terrorist, at least by the Empire's definition. He was caught, tried, and sentenced to serve in the correctional services. By the time he finishes his sentence, everyone he has ever known will be dead and forgotten. He'll be hundreds of years away from anything familiar, and he will have nothing. So why would he still think of himself by his real name? That person is already dead. The name 5056 symbolizes how inhumane and cold the Empire is. It's a reminder that he was never a person to them. He was always just a number, and the funny thing is, the readers loved him. People connected with him because he fit the world so well. And that leads me to my second point. A well-written character isn't just a list of traits. They're a person, one shaped by their past, their trauma, their victories, and their failures. When you're writing, you need to realize you aren't just creating a character, you are creating a person. This person exists in the universe or the setting you created. That person has emotions, biases, and instincts just like everyone else, and more importantly, they should have experiences that form these complex feelings. Even if the reader never sees it, you as the writer need to know their history. Every experience we have shapes us, and it should shape your characters too. This applies to all characters, even non-human ones. If your character is a god, they should act like a god, but even Zeus has a backstory. Older beings should carry the weight of their years and how they interact with the world. There's a book called The Psychology Workbook for Writers. I've read it multiple times, and I always refer back to it when developing new characters. And this brings me to my third and final point. A character's decisions should always feel earned. One of my biggest turnoffs in any book is when a character doesn't react logically. If someone sees a monster in the woods, their first instinct isn't going to be to go fight it. It's going to be to run. That's what real people do. That's how real people react to danger. Now, there are a few exceptions in the real world, but we're talking on a general sense. This isn't a revolutionary idea, but it's one that doesn't get enough attention. Your characters should react to situations like real people because in your universe, they are real. A great example of this is the book Velocity by Dean Koontz. The protagonist is forced into a high-stakes moral dilemma that feels realistic. He receives a note that says, "If you don't take this to police, I will kill an innocent person. If you do, I will kill someone else." Naturally, the first time this happens, he shrugs it off, because that's what a real person would do. They would try to downplay the situation because that kind of stuff just doesn't happen. As the book progresses, he starts making different decisions because of his past experiences with similar notes. The entire book is built around a realistic, high-stakes decision-making process. The characters' reactions feel human, and that's what makes the story engaging. Now let's talk about an example where this didn't really work. In The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan, the main character Mary is living in a secluded village surrounded by a fence that keeps out hordes of zombies. She's been raised there her entire life to fear them. Yet despite all this, she consistently makes reckless decisions that put herself and others in danger. At one point, she deliberately wanders too close to the fence and gets people killed. It's frustrating because no rational person raised in that world would take such careless risks. Yet she constantly makes reckless decisions, she ignores logic, wanders into danger, and gets people killed. This breaks immersion because no rational person would act this way. If a character's choices feel forced or illogical, it makes the whole story feel fake. Your characters are the soul of your story, but they're nothing without the world they inhabit. If they don't fit the tone and the setting, they'll feel out of place, artificial, like cardboard cutouts in a world that wasn't made for them. A grim dystopian universe like Crimes of an Empire demands a character who reflects that darkness. A high fantasy world of knights and dragons demands characters who understand that world's rules and history. Your setting should dictate your characters, not the other way around. But creating a character who fits the world isn't enough. They also need to feel real. Readers don't connect with a character because they're perfectly designed to be likable. They connect because they feel human, even when they're aliens, gods, or monsters. A well-crafted character has a past, motivations, biases, and fears that shape their actions. You as the writer need to know what made them into who they are, even if the reader never sees those details on the page. And finally, none of this matters if your characters don't act like real people. Nothing will take a reader out of a story faster than a character making choices that don't make sense. If your story's tension relies on characters acting stupid, you don't have tension, you have bad writing. A character's decisions should always be driven by who they are, what they know, and what they've experienced. Their actions and reactions must feel earned. So when you sit down to create your next character, ask yourself 3 things. Does this character fit in the world? Do they feel real? And are their actions believable? If yes, you build a character that doesn't just exist in your world. They belong there. That's all I have for today. If you found this useful, hit the like and subscribe. I have plenty more to share, and let me know in the comments what's the biggest struggle you had when writing characters. I would like to talk about it. Remember, you write to tell the stories no one else can. Don't change your story to fit what others can do. I'll see you next time.